Welcome to another mega exciting King's Crusher radio show. So this is Tuesday, 9:10, just after Holby City. Okay, do I need to mute this? Yes I do. So this week we're going to be looking at games from the Gashimov Memorial. So Gashimov was actually a very popular super grandmaster who died too young, and so there's this memorial tournament for him. I actually got to see him once, Gashimov, in one tournament in person. When I went to Gibraltar, I saw him actually in person, as well as played Nakamura Blitz and other stuff. I actually saw Boris Spassky as well. So the story of Gashimov: he died tragically at the age of just 27 years old, and he had accomplished a huge amount in chess, a huge amount. ChessGames.com have some information. So he became an IM in 1998, just aged 12 years and 5 months, and a GM in 2002, aged 15 years and 11 months. So a very, very, very talented player. He actually became a candidate master at the age of 6. So I took it a little bit longer, just getting candidate master at the age of like 40 plus. So yeah, he was very, very talented. One of the several highly talented young grandmasters from Azerbaijan who rose to prominence in the world of chess. He had ill health though, including epilepsy, brain tumours and high blood pressure. So it dogged him from 2000 onwards, forcing him out of competitive chess after Tatar 2012. So yeah, very sad. He passed away on 10th of January 2014, aged just 27. Anyway, so this memorial tournament for him, as you can expect, there's a lot of Azerbaijan grandmasters playing in it. Just checking YouTube works, is it? YouTube stream. So hi all on YouTube stream as well. And yeah, okay, let's see. This game from the Gashimov Memorial, just played a few days back. So Pavel Elzhanov 2765 against Caruana 2804. Let's have a look at this game to start off with. D4 from Pavel. Let's actually add a Kibitzer and check live book if needed. We have knight f6. Hope the board's okay. C4, G6, knight C3, and Caruana uses the Grunfeld defense, D5. Grunfeld defense. Okay, so what does white choose here? Connect to live book here. White chooses, instead of c takes, this is also quite popular, just play knight f3. We have bishop g7, standard stuff. Here queen b3, the Russian system I believe that's called, wasn't played. C takes is popular. Bishop g5 was played, in fact, third most popular in live book. And funny enough, I've had this position with black. I had a really disastrous over the board game towards the start of the season, which I haven't covered yet, but maybe I should at some point. Here, attacking the bishop, and it looks as though there's a mechanism for e5, right, to hit the knight after. But white can try this. It seems to be a pawn grab. C takes d5, and for some weird, I mean seriously weird reason, sorry, in this, I'm going to have a look at this theoretically. Well, in the game actually bishop f4, but I just want to test you guys, and just imagine this on a 3D board. That this happened to be in an over the board game. If c takes d, Let me test you. How would you get the pawn back here? And it should be easy, I think, for you to work it out, the theory of this position. Even if you don't know the theory, it should be easy for you to work out the Grunfeld theory here on c takes d. So what would you play in this position? Let me test if anyone awake. But I managed to completely misplay this for some completely strange reason. I don't know what I was thinking, because I'm sure I've seen master games with this sequence. I think I was basically trying to surprise someone with the Grunfeld, which I hardly ever play, and then end up just playing really weird because of this c takes d5. Does anyone know the theory here? You should be able to know what the theoretical move is in this position. Do you know? I've kind of given a clue actually. Oh, Elyanov, is it? Sorry, J is red as you. Thank you. Mini games on stream. So Elyanov, Pavel Elyanov then, yeah. Oh, you're making me feel better. Everyone that's saying knight takes c3, you're making me feel a lot better, right? Sorry, this is a bit off the tour of the game. This is a bit off the main game, by the way, because bishop f4 was played, not c takes. But because I haven't over the board game this, let me just show you. So three of you are saying knight takes c3. If you could say your ratings as well, it'd make me feel a lot better that you think it's knight takes c3. So if you didn't know Grunfeld defense theory, three of you are saying knight takes c3. That's good. It has actually been played before, knight takes c3. It's not so terrible. It's actually been played before apparently, and it is equal. But if you want to regain the pawn, which is the most popular, more than 1,000, you take care. And then what? Yeah, someone's kind of mentioned it. What would you play here? If you didn't know the theory of the Grunfeld, you just want to get your pawn back. Black to get his pawn back. Oh, this is going to be a long evening because this is just the detour. Sorry, sorry. I've just got to go over this one just for personal thing. You play e6 because you're hitting the knight, and also you're going to take back the pawn. Yeah. So the knight goes back usually, and then you get your pawn back. For some crazy reason, I thought at the time of this over the ball game, e5 was interesting. Yeah. But of course white here just keeps a solid extra pawn by just moving the knight, which protects d4. Just the pawn down in the opening. But even this position, it's been played before with some people winning with black. It's crazy. If you want something really crazy for blitz, you can play c5 here because there's no dc because we're on the no, oh god, because we're on d4, right? So there's a crazy line. Say knight f3. It can actually get super sharp. This is super sharp, crazy stuff. You can play b5. I mean, I think it will be good for blitz because you've got the dark square bishop, and I didn't really estimate this much, and it's really dangerous here. You can play like a madman. Even this position, I mean, this is okay. Because you know we've got pressure on b2 here, or what else? 94. Anyway, I'm veering off. So just that's a sideline. Let's go back to the game and not do these naughty detours. Okay. So after knight e4 in the game, bishop f4 was played, but quite often c takes is played. So if you do want to play the Grunfeld, you need to know how to regain the pawn. This is quite simple. But anyway, so bishop f4 in this game. And we have knight takes c3, b takes c5 from Caruana. It seems pretty logical. e3, black castles, bishop e2, D takes c4, bishop takes c4. So I think this is still quite within live book here. Well, no, actually we've come out. Hang on. Black, that is popular. Bishop e2 is popular, but c takes is more popular actually. Now this is quite rare to play bishop e2. So this position here is getting a bit rare now. Knight d7. Although it looks pretty standard. Knight b6, bishop b3. And here, this is interesting strategically, c4, because it's kind of releasing this tension from the center. You know, normally Grunfeld players, they want to put maximum pressure on the center, and you know, by removing the pressure, it looks a little bit odd. But then you realize in this particular position that actually there's a fork here of f4 and c3, so it's kind of justifies it. We're either going to win this pawn or we're going to damage the pawn structure. So this position now is well, Engine thinks it's about equal anyway. So white protects the pawn. I mean, that really is a pawn to be taken if bishop g3, or is it? Yeah, I think it can be taken, but even stronger might even be queen a5. So anyway, the pawn is protected at the expense of a bit of pawn structure damage. Knight takes f4. And here, again, it looks as though black has gained quite a bit with this next move, bishop e6, because this is a nice square for the bishop. To just be parked here. So even though it's not like usual Grunfeld strategy to blow up the center, instead it seems occupying some nice, you know, central squares, particularly d5. It seems to be quite nice now for black. So we have a4 bishop, and the bishop just parks on d5, threatening even more structural damage now with bishop takes f3. So the knight moves e6. And that sort of discourages any f5. So black's got the bishop here and seems to be doing okay. There is this b file though to deal with. We have rook f1, rook b8, queen e3, a6. So okay, b5 could be annoying. It's actually clamped down on, but nevertheless black plays it now anyway. A takes, rook takes. So potentially this is, the pawn's a little bit weak, but okay, g3 was played. Interestingly, why g3, you might ask? And that is an interesting question. Which, maybe just to make some space for the king, but it looks as though it's like weakening the diagonal unnecessarily in some respect. I know it wouldn't be my first choice move. Engine suggestions include like h3. I'm not sure exactly the point actually of g3. To be quite honest, it's, I don't know, a little bit strange. You can make some f for the king with h3 if you want to make some f for the king. So anyway, g3, and we have rook takes b1. And rook takes b1, bishop takes e5, queen takes e5, queen a8. And now this has dual threats. It supports the outside pass pawn potentially, which you might think is a bit funny, because actually, is that really going anywhere? But more significantly, bishop h1 is now supported with the idea of just mating on g2. So I thought this was getting a little bit amusing, this game. I played for it earlier. It's getting a little bit amusing here about this bishop h1. I mean, this is also, you know, why did white want to weaken the light squares here earlier? And in fact, we get pretty direct play now after h4, just to make space for the king to handle this bishop h1 move. Sorry, h1 coming up. So bishop h1, threatening mate in 1. I thought it was a crazy game a little bit. King actually can't go to h2. That's not the point here. King f1 to get the king out like this. Now h5, h6 could be on the cards. That would be dangerous. That's stopped. And we have the king making a run for it, comically. A5, as though this pawn is going to do something. It is supportive of the queen. Rook A1. And actually, I did find this quite entertaining. No bias. I did find this quite entertaining now, this position. Because is there an attack here, or are there loose pieces to exploit? Well, clearly there are some loose pieces. The bishop and rook are kind of currently loose. We have queen g2, threatening immediately to win at least the rook. If it's not about checkmate, it's about winning loose pieces here. So the rook goes out of trouble, but releases control of the first rank. We have check, and now bishop g2, trying to use this f1 square. It looks really dangerous. Queen e3, rook b8, threatening, it seems like rook b2 now. So this is getting a little bit scary, this rook b2. It's stopped. Now bishop h3, again, it's like threat after threat after threat. Bishop g4 now is kind of threatened. King goes out of the way in advance. Now bishop f5. If b1 can be weakened and the rook and queen join together, this is going to be dangerous. White doesn't really want to exchange off that defensive light square bishop. So queen e1, wanting an exchange of queens. Queen g2, refusing the exchange of queens. But is indeed here, bishop takes f5 is played. And as long as b1, as long as this rook's not coming down, we have king c2. It seems safe enough for the moment, kind of. But queen b7, threatening queen b3 check now, winning the rook. It seems as though we have a kind of king hunt process. King d2. But is it that convincing? Queen g2, I think it's really relying on white making a mistake. At the moment, it's in balance. It seems to be in balance at the moment. Now king c1, queen f3. Rook c2. It looks a little bit awkward, you know, this pressure that black's got. The pieces are inside the position. White can't really use his extra pawn here. It's just going to be munched. So white's kind of tied down, trying to cling on to the position here. And black's calling the shots. You know, black's calling the shots here, because this next move threatens rook a1 check to win the queen. So that has to be stopped. We have queen e2. But now, this is actually a disaster, this position already, actually, after rook a8. I think things had got bad here with rook c2. It's really hard to defend this, but apparently rook e2 might be something. Because if we do this, I think we've got rook e8, getting rid of a pair of rooks. Apparently that's one way of defending the position. But anyway, this rook c2, after rook a8, this is probably getting to be lost now technically for white. There's too many threats. We have queen e2, queen h1 check, and now the rook joins forces, and it's starting to look like a classic sort of infiltration now. I don't know if you remember, there's a classic game, Nimzovich against Capablanca, where Capablanca kind of slowly infiltrated with his major pieces. Here it's only the rook and queen, but it's with this pawn in particular, you know, that's... What have I just done? Sorry, have I just lost the stream? Oh, creating some technical issues here. Sorry, hi all to the Kibitzers on Play Chess.com. So rook a1, we're threatening. What are we threatening here? Well, there's, okay, if it's black to move, sorry, it's white to move. White plays the check. We have king g7 check, the king tucks away, but black is threatening queen d1 check, king here, queen d3 checkmate. So there's a threat of mating too. Queen e2 seems to address that, but it's getting terminal here. It's a zugzwang that's been woven here after rook b1. You can see the white rook can't move now. Pardon me. We have f3 being played, but it's really bad, this position. The queen can't move because she's defending d1. Yeah, if the queen moves, you know, we got queen d1. If the rook moves, yeah, we've got queen c1. So that's why I thought this game became kind of comical. Well, funny if you look at it as an outsider, not if you're playing white. It would be kind of depressing if you're playing white, I guess, because you're a pawn down, but it's a total zugzwang. You can't move this pawn because that can just be taken, bang, and then what? This is horrible. This position here, rook d1, and then we've got queen e4 checkmate on the cards, and if f3, then we've got queen c5 checkmate. So it's not the most pleasant position now. It's totally lost, in fact. If you think there's a move, you know, call it out now. This is a total zugzwang. Total zugzwang. Anyone agree? Disagree? Agree? Do you all agree? Just say agree or disagree, and I can tell me a move if you think there's a move. The move played was, okay, I'll tell you the move played and how that was beaten down. Trade-off move, a forced trade-off. There is a move, but it has a trade-off, has a weakness of the last move, which is terminal in itself. So there's no way out here. This is zugzwang territory. Does anyone agree? The sound's gone. No sound. Oh my god. Have I managed to mess up no sound? Oh, sorry, if I click start again. Oh, great. How did I get all this annotation data? I don't know how I've picked up all this annotation data. I'm just trying to start it again. Sorry, we'll go back to this zugzwang position. So this is white to play. See if we've got the sound back. Hello, testing 1 2 3. Sound back. I don't know how I don't know what control buttons I've pressed. I managed to make a huge annotated game. But anyway, no, this is on Play Chess. So sound is back, yeah. So anyway, this is a zugzwang position. And white tried f3. Now can you see what black plays here? Black to play and win. And it's because f3 is a weakness of the last move. So black to play and win. If I told you weakness of the last move trade-offs, this move should also kind of be suggested to you from the move f3. You know, what does it weaken? What does it suggest then? Kind of automatically. That although there's a trade-off in that it controls e4 from the queen, and almost like as though it makes d5 possible, but what is it actually weakens? So what does Caruana play? It's a really crushing, bone-crushing move, this next move, which causes resignation. 1 million points at stake. No, just kidding, just 100 points at stake. Virtual points. Yeah. Okay, I hope you're getting it. From the weakness of the last move, white has in effect weakened the second rank, yeah? It's weakened the second rank. What? What am I doing here? I don't know what I'm doing for this annotation business. What am I pressing? Am I losing my marbles here? Probably. Don't answer that. Okay, rook g1 was played. Rook g1 threatening rook g2. and there's no defense in this position. I'm restarting stream again for On Play Chess. I'm trying to be more careful. What on earth am I pressing on the keyboard? Okay, Rook G1 is winning. There's no defense to Rook G2. Rook G2, there's no defense. So anyway, I thought that was an entertaining game. Does anyone want a quick... No. Okay, so what did we learn from this game? The Grunfeld can be played apparently in different ways. You don't need to try and destroy White's censor. In this game, White somehow, unfortunately, played moves which weakened his kingside, and that was superbly exploited by moves like Queen A8 and Bishop H2, and we had a kind of king hunt. So there's a chat. Do you want me to go over the move G3 for White? What, does someone have a clue why it was played? Alright, that's a murder mystery. Let's go back. Why on earth was G... I mean, it's easy to say in retrospect it's a terrible move, the way Caruana played. But does anyone have any ideas why G3... I mean, let's have a mystery. Why is G3 played here? Elyonov is a really strong player. He's like 2765. Do you think he missed Queen A8? I mean, this is a nice hyper-modern move. Please don't put 6 million annotations in if I do Control Alt. I'm just trying to do arrows without putting 6 million annotations in the game. I've done this for a while. Out of practice. Rook takes b6. Oh. You're saying rook takes b6 instead of g3? I think we would have more obviously, wouldn't we? Wouldn't we have more obviously queen b7? If g3 was played here, don't we have... Well, we even have Queen B2 actually hitting the bishop and rook, and then maybe this is a little bit dangerous, but I don't know even if Queen B7 in this position. Oh, then there's Rook B1, and if here, it's all different. It's all very different. Knight D7 threatens Knight B6, among other things. We have Knight B6, and we can win that pesky bishop. So somehow. I'm not saying that's an improvement because it allows Queen B2, but G3 immediately, this position is actually given, it's actually mentioned by the engine as a move actually. Bishop, I think the point is the surprising move must be bishop takes E5 actually. I think that's our clue, because if we imagine this wasn't played, this is setting a trap then for black. Because here we have Knight D7 hitting the rook, and if we try for a mate here in this position, F3 is winning for white because we're winning the exchange and there's no attack. So that's setting a horrible trap, because actually in this position, yeah, this is problematic for black, because if Rook D8 we have that variation with Knight D6 forking Queen and bishop, so maybe it's kind of a cynical trap that sets, or just, but black kind of breaks out of the trap because black included initially bishop takes E5 to stop Knight D7. Does anyone buy this? Does anyone buy this pure speculation? Because now this is a reasonable move, but it might not technically be, you know, it shouldn't have been apparently you know, that fatal. I mean, F takes wasn't played, Queen takes E5 was played, and here again this kind of thing, no, should it be fatal? I mean, engine's suggesting it's not, but it's clearly, it's not pleasant to allow the queen in for dinner here, is it? Although apparently if a computer was playing white, this wouldn't be that terminal. Computer defend, it seems more difficult for white to defend, but it seems a key point then actually about why g3 is so bad to queen 8, because of this bishop takes e5, taking away knight d7 probably. Yeah, so a couple of forcing moves as a preliminary to queen a8 gives black what seems to be a dangerous initiative. It just seems to be black is creating all the threats. Yeah, even though black is a pawn down, he's creating all the threats. Okay, interesting. Can someone say why knight d7 after rook takes b6 is not possible? Alright, let's have a look. Okay, so you're saying rook takes here. Well, I think it's queen b2. Let's check. Queen b2 hits the rook here and the bishop. And that's better for black apparently. Yeah. If rook c1, we can move this now. And then black is just in a better position. Can start moving his pawn even. Alright, so it was pretty tense tactical moment. Does anyone else have a question? Any other questions? I'll give you a few seconds if you've got any other questions. It seems strange, g3. Okay, let's go on to another game. So another game. I'm just going to find another game. Hold on a sec. Let's have another game of Caruana. Now against Yifan Hu. I think there's some rumours, well, I saw on Reddit, well, a report that she didn't want to go through the cycle to become world women's champion because she was going to lose loads of rating points, and that's fair enough, because I think I understood her point, because if you've got a gigantic FIDE rating and you're playing people lower rated, you know, one game a day, you know, any draws or slip ups are going to be really costly in FIDE rating points, and she doesn't want to go through that entire process. I mean, it's not just about rating, it's, you know, anyway, let's carry on. So Fabiano Caruana is playing Yifan Hu in this game. So this was in round 3. Let's have a look. It started with, it's the Royal Paz, and pretty standard stuff. Knight takes e4, d4, pretty standard. Thousands of games have been played with this sequence. Thousands. Pretty standard. Standard. d4. The move here is knight b3, main move. And it looks pretty awkward if you haven't seen this before. d3, it looks as though it's pushing white back. But in fact, actually, knight takes c5 is quite popular here as well as bishop b1. So knight takes c5, this one, there's taking, and apparently this is about equal, this position. Well, that pawn is not going anywhere. It's going to be surrounded. But we have bishop b1 here. Knight takes, a takes, bishop f5. Rook e1, black castles. There's still games in line, but here bishop e3. Queen d5 is still, it's the main move. So we're following like a theoretical path here. Black is now threatening the e pawn, right? No, not right. Black's major threat might actually be bishop e4 to put pressure on this diagonal. We have bishop d4, and this has been seen before. Black has tried d2 in this position. Bishop d4 is like still the one of the main moves. So here d2 has seen 9 games before, but in the game we see this is also quite popular. There's been a few games with this as well. Now here is the weird one. I think here is the innovation. Crazy. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It seems totally an irrelevant move. I mean, seriously. But it seems to have some logic. Now in this game, rook e3 has been played before, trying to surround the pawn. There's some logic to that, right? There's also just taking, and b4 has been seen before. Now, so guess what totally weird, wacky move was played by Caruana in this game? I think this was mentioned. I just briefly read a report that there was some innovation uncorked here. So it's a crazy move. What's totally irrelevant but might be useful. So white's playing. When I said white's play, what would you say is a good thing here? It doesn't win, it's just interesting, it's just weird. Right, actually the move h4. In this particular position, although you might think h4 weakens g4, black's not in a position to like use g4. We just snap up this pawn, yeah, and we're threatening h7. So in this particular position, the g4 weakness is not so thing. What h4 supports is, you know, maybe, I imagine, I'm not even sure now. It supports. I thought it might support knight g5, but that's not. It's not actually about that at all. Let's just have a look at the game. Bishop g6 was played, and now we have b4. Okay, and white is threatening bishop a2 actually in this position with the follow-up of a6. Believe it or not, b4 wasn't just about stopping black playing b4 or something, or it's actually a threat now of bishop a2. That's pretty serious actually. If we pin here, for example, bishop a2 I think is a killer move. If the queen goes back, e6, bang, end of game, yeah? So this b4 is actually a serious attacking move with the idea of e6. We have black distracting this light square bishop, so we're taking it off. Queen takes d2, bishop takes b1, rook a takes b1, bishop takes b4, using the pressure on d4 here. But white kind of didn't mind really that much about that pawn. It's double pawns anyway. Queen f4, we're still equal on pawns. And you're still wondering, am I going to explain h4? I can't at the moment, I'm sorry. Someone will have to tell me why h4 is so crucial to this. Okay, so queen f4 is played. And e6 in this position is dangerous again here. If black, well, the bishop's also kind of, it's not attacked actually, the bishop's not attacked, but okay, let's just give black a move. I just want to show you something. Okay, we're not going to take the bishop because then knight takes d4, but what we are going to do here, this is a token move just to show some stuff. e6 is dangerous in this position, apparently, because the black king will get slaughtered with, if we had this position, white to play here. What would you play with white in this position? Okay, bishop takes g7 seems to slice up the king. If king takes, well, we just exposed the king. We take here actually, yeah, we just exposed the king. So e6 is strong because it sort of, basically we get out of the firing line and we damage black's king here with e6. So okay, black has to tread carefully. So bishop e7. But the surprise is that e6 is played anyway, and it's still having implications for the black king safety. After f takes, we target on g7, threatening mate. So that's extinguished. Knight takes d4, knight takes d4, and then this pawn is really weak. We have a knight coming to e6 now. Knight takes e6, rook d7. And it looks scary. Rook e3, this rook left looks scary, not just for doubling but also, you know, maybe rook g3 at some point. Black now plays h5, which does weaken g6. This might not have been the most optimal defense, but anyway, h5 weakens g6, and that's just gone straight into with the queen. And white is getting to be in a crushing position again. You know, the fox is in the chicken's house now, okay, with that queen being there. So like in that other Caruana game, you know, when he gets his queen next to the opponent's king, in general that's bad news for the opponent. Yeah, when the queen has got some attacking acquaintances here, the rook and knight, and there's actually everything else could be part of the attack. So rook f7, rook b e1 strengthens that center, which means a rook lift now is possible without dropping the knight. So rook g3 could be on the cards, but also the rooks like this mean e8 could be troublesome. White is actually threatening quite a nasty tactic in this position, aside from the rook lift. If for example a5 was played, what could you play as white? I've given a bit of a clue. White to play here. There's a crushing blow in this position. Can you see? Anyone? What white's playing this position? 50 points, 100 points. Okay, knight takes c7, makes way for rook e8. So if takes, we got this mating net. So I told you it was bad news for that queen next to be near the king. Okay, but okay, black tries to defend this with the move rook c8, which means actually knight takes c7 is not possible. When I say not possible, actually it does seem possible here, even this move. So if takes, we still mate black here with rook e8, and if the other one takes, I mean it's still a disaster in some way. Let's have a quick look. This is still mating, because it's just so that's actually knight c7 is still possible, but it wasn't played. Something maybe even stronger was played in this position. Well, rook d3 is pretty strong, but knight f4 was played, and that's pretty strong, hitting the queen and preparing rook e8 check. We have queen d7, queen takes h5, and now it's not just the pawn, it's looking at here, so knight g6, queen h8, checkmate is on the cards. It's looking like a diabolical position to try and defend this. It's gone now, it's just gone. Rook e7 was played, and there's a really bone crushing move now. This is the most crushing, one of the most crushing moves. So, you know, white's play here. Can you see what white plays here? White's play here, if I type it there. Okay, in this position, white to play. Have you got this? Anyone? Anyone? Yeah. All right, I'll show you. Knight d5. So we've got this knight takes f6 now on the cards. Rook f7 was played trying to defend. Yeah, if rook takes here, knight takes f6 rips apart black's king. And that will be fatal for black's king safety in this position with this rook coming to g3. That's fatal, actually. So black tries to defend, but now rook d1 threatens knight takes f6, winning the queen. The queen has to get out of the firing line. Now knight f4 here threatens knight g6 for queen h8 again, as well as rook e6. We have rook d7, which some people have said is the worst move on the board, but black is in a very bad position here with these threats, so it's very difficult. You know, yeah, for rook f8 we just play knight g6, yeah, and that's horrible, you know. For example, you know, rook d7 check, yeah, queen takes, yeah, queen e8, winning everything because that is a pin there against the queen as well. So no, but rook d7, okay, just hastens to the end, because white now just plays rook e8 check, and the king's got no squares, so black has to resign here because she's losing that rook on d7. Actually, you know, if takes, the rook on d7 is lost. Yeah. So that was so the big murder mystery of this game is, you know, what on earth was h4 about? Does anyone know what the relevance of h4? Should we just go back to that? It's the novelty of the game. It hasn't been seen before. What is this about? In this position, I will show you a recap. People have tried rook e3, bishop takes d3, or b4. So Let's try some moves. Let's try some moves. What is this about? Bishop g4 we just take. I was mentioned that. That's just horrible for black. Forget that. Bishop e4. It's bad for black as well. We can actually do this. This is not good for black. If I hit h5, oh, takes away g6 with the idea of bishop f5. That's interesting. I must admit, at the moment it eludes me. Does anyone have a good reason for h4 that I can share? h4 is to play against bishop on e7, like in the Sveshnikov. Let's push bishop back as an experiment. Just take here. Knight e5, we can threaten mate. This is pretty crushing. Bang. Sort of variations crushing. I call it. I have to admit, it's kind of eluding me. Yeah, bishop f8 as I mentioned. Let's take here. Okay, weird one. But so it's the novelty of the game. It's a good waiting move. Okay, it's a good waiting move. Sometimes it's useful to play h5 to take away g6. Yeah, I guess you can say that. If we played instead, I mean, another popular move here is no, b4 is not, I don't think, good, because there's bishop takes b4, so that's not good. It's undermine d4. If we play this doesn't do anything here, because you know e6 is covered. This doesn't do much. So b4 is not particularly great. So it's better than b4, maybe. Oh, okay. Well, that's a mystery. It's a slight mystery. Let's go on to another game. But okay, in a nutshell, how the game happened. If I'll try and give you a nutshell what I think happened here. Well, probably a bit of a shock, h4, and it seems soon after black's king safety was slightly compromised with e6, and I think one of the moves which probably didn't help was h5 weakening g6. I mean, it's easy to say, but the queen, once it was installed on g6, it seems as though white had all the threats again. I mean, I can only say it like that. At an intuitive level, I don't know if you'll agree with this, but it seems again Caruana was in a position to call the shots. Would you say that's the case? Like in the previous game we saw, he was just calling all the shots because black had all these weaknesses. Yeah, his e6 just ended up creating lots of kingside weaknesses. He was calling all the shots, all the threats. It's just difficult to defend. It's impossible to defend in practice such positions against a really dangerous, resourceful player. Yeah, it is a bit committal, isn't it? Yeah, a committal waiting move. Can you call it a committal waiting move then on stream? Okay, we'll have a look at another game. What does the engine say about h4? Okay, well, Fritz. Okay, if you can call that an engine. I mean, okay, I mean, h4. It thinks it's an advantage to white, with black's best move being bishop c5. For example, like this. And now, in this position, the remarkable h5, which has the threat of knight h4, believe it or not. And you might wonder, well, hang on, couldn't this bishop just scurry back? But we play knight h4 anyway here, apparently. And then the point is revealed that we play e6. Because then we sneak this bishop on this diagonal, I guess. Do we? No? No? Knight g6. But bishop a2 is coming. So all of a sudden h4 is part of this major light square weakness campaign. I don't know. No, I'm not joking you. I'm not joking you here. h5 is a move here, but also knight g5. Knight g5, the idea of e6, but h5 as well has apparently some venom. I know, it's weird. If bishop g4, queen takes d3, and white's going to be better here. If we take here, if black tries to win material, that doesn't matter because we've got bang, rook takes a6 in this position. Back row weakness, we're winning lots of pawns. Okay, so I don't know, h4's got some functionality to it. If I put my programmer terms on now, it's got some functionality, hidden functionality. h4, okay, that's all I can say about it. Let's go on, let's go on. This is like midnight already. We've just looked at 2 games. Yeah, no. Let's carry on. Yeah? It's approaching midnight. No, it's 10 o'clock, yeah. Caruana against Rajabov next, yeah? Let's have a look. Caruana against Rajabov. Okay, e4, Caruana's playing white, so Rajabov's kicking around at 2726 at the moment. c5, knight f3, knight c6. We have bishop b5. I call this the anti-Sveshnikov. This put me off a bit, playing the Sveshnikov with black. You want an exciting game, then players play this bishop b5. Oh dear. And now after g6, voluntarily giving up the bishop. Yeah, you take like this to try and control d4. d3, bishop g7. h3, knight f6, knight c3. I think this is standard stuff. Looks like pretty standard. Okay, there's lots of moves here that have been tried before in this position for black, but black chose a really weird one, b6. But I mean, it looks fairly sensible as well. Queen d2. So as though we're going to get rid of black's bishop, right? Oh god, I've just put loads of commentary on. What is this? I'm missing some new button. I'm accidentally pressing all the time. Okay, anyway. So can I safely do that? Okay, yeah, okay. So black avoids that with rook e8 to be able to slip the bishop back. You know, if we play bishop h6 now, can we do this? Well, maybe. But anyway, white castles queenside. Funny enough, white. I mean, actually, that's white apparently castles queenside. So it looks a little bit. You know, you want to castle queenside with caution. Okay, now black started flinging stuff that direction, a5, but now knight e5 looks at winning c6 clearly. Black now just ignored that, b5. Now although it's I think it's just risky to take that here now. If knight takes, this wasn't played, if knight takes here, and black's obviously getting some moves for his kingside attack on the queen side. His attack on the queen side. It's getting scary. It's getting very scary, and c3 looks wobbly in this position. So probably bad idea to take on c6. But b5 did also weaken c5, and it's c5 that's targeted with queen e3. We have queen b6 protecting that. Now bishop h6, the bishop drops back to h8, f4, a4, we have rook hf1. Now if black's quick to kick the knight, he didn't do this, he played actually e6, but does this do anything? I mean, this it looks like scary. I don't know why this wasn't played actually now. b3, the engine likes it anyway, this move. Going for b3, even if white tries to block things. Yeah, it seems as though this sort of position is going to be good for white. Yeah, it's kind of frozen. Now it's getting frozen. Where's black's attack? It's gone. So maybe that's why there wasn't a huge temptation to play b4. So instead e6, g4. Meanwhile, white's brewing an attack now with things like g5 and maybe, well, g5 actually. It's too risky to play f5. So a3. Now here, b4 was played because that pin on the queen, knight d7. White now took on d7, hitting the queen. Bishop takes, and now this is hanging. The bishop's closed down with e5. We have f5. White's not going to help this bishop. Instead, plays knight e2. Bishop g7. Now this is taken actually. If bishop g5, bishop f8, and black is okay, it's actually taken off. King takes, and white's proceeding with his attack. It seems with h4. So threatening things like, well, g5 and ripping open the h4 layer. Now black took on g4, but h5 played anyway, trying to open up the lines. G takes, knight g3. This looks, I don't know, very scary for black. King h8, knight takes h5. Rook e7. The knight comes to that beautiful f6 square. Bishop e8. Now the queen is going to get near the king here soon, or it seems. Or f5 opens up things again, creating also a passed pawn. The queen's got access to h6. We've also got passed pawn now after e takes, rook takes. And h7 looks kind of fragile as well. Queen drops back. Rook g5 threatening a mate in one with pardon me. I swear I'm not going mad. There's some new functionality in ChessBase. My Control Alt is not working. It's just filling with annotations. Okay, it doesn't usually do that. It just usually draws an arrow. But anyway, rook g5. I'll try and do simpler arrows. So you can see here, rook g8 check, mate is threatened. Black defends that with rook g7. Now we have rook h1. The bishop comes to defend. Rook takes g4. Okay, what is white actually threatening here? Well, queen h6 is getting scary, because then there's rook takes g6 and queen h7 after. You know, if black, just to show that, if black, you know, did this, queen h6, I think, maybe not that one. But that's the general idea. Queen h6, rook g6, queen h7 is mating. Let me just show you that. It's token moves, right? This kind of plan would be nice to achieve. Okay. So black plays queen f7. And it's looking at this pawn actually. Black is actually looking potentially to take that pawn. Potentially. But here, okay, so king b1. We have c takes b4. Queen d4. This looks very nice, this central queen, because now e6 would be pinning that rook usefully for rook takes g6 soon. So that needs to be stopped. Yeah, e6 and rook takes g6 is threatened. Just to show a token move, right? e6, rook takes g6 is threatened. Because of here, well, that's mate. Alright, so black needs to address e6 here. He plays actually bishop f5. But here, oh, this is a really beautiful finish, actually, which I didn't expect when I was playing through it earlier. White has a really crushing combination. Can you see what white plays here? White's play, if I give you 20 seconds. So it looks as though, you know, you need to move the rook. Is it? Or is that the case? What can you play in this position? White's play. Any ideas? Yeah, e6. All right. So the first, well, if we go few, rook takes g4 was played. If we play this in this position, knight takes h7 is crushing apparently because we're pinning that rook. And if here, then knight f6 is a mate in 3. Yeah, that's mating black. You know, bang. So in the game we have after e6 we have this rook takes g4, but there's a twist here because hasn't white just blundered? Hang on a sec. So e takes, has white just blundered after rook takes d4 because there's no mate on h7? But guess the move, the naughty little move in this position, which wins for white. White's play, it's the final move of the game at move 36 and it wins for white. All of a sudden the tension is switched somewhere else. That is a bit of a clue, but white has a winning move in this position even though he's a rook down. Yeah, I thought it was kind of amusing. I thought it was all about the attack. But in this position, it starts to be about the pawn. How can it be about the pawn, you're wondering? How? Knight e8. The king can't stop the pawn because the knight's stopping the king. f8 is threatened. The bloody bishop is on f5, as someone says. You're right, Gilam. Sorry, I don't usually swear. I'm just quoting you. Bloody bishop was on f5 because otherwise rook f8 would be possible. The position has that sickly awkward configuration which makes this really much more effective than imaginable. Yeah, knight e8 just wins. So that's queening, yeah. So that was another nice game. So I think there's been 3 nice games here from Caruana. Clap, 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 clap. Yeah, yeah. 3 nice games. Do you agree? Do you agree? I was just trying to give you news, but actually some of this is quite interesting. Some of these games played recently are actually kind of interesting, aren't they? Well, I think they are. Do you? They're fun, aren't they? It's news but fun, yeah? Have I got chess news for you? Yeah? It's good, isn't it? also had this other game against Mamedov. do you want to see this game against Mamedov? I think that might have been vaguely interesting, although actually I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it was. Okay. So he was black against Mamedov in round 4, who's 2655. Let's have a look. E4, E5. We have a Go piano. So it's when black plays bishop c5 it becomes a Go piano, I think. Is that correct? When black plays it, bishop c5. So c3, knight f6, d3, a6. This is pretty standard stuff as well. Bishop b3 is all the rage apparently, but this has also been played before. a4, bishop drops back. Then this position b4 has been played a few times, but here we have bishop g5. That's kicked. g5, bishop g3. Okay. Now black plays knight e7, and it looks as though if black gets his evil ways, I'm not going to press Control Alt. Okay, do not press Control Alt. Do not. Simple arrows would illustrate this might be an idea here. Okay, but white is going to put pressure on e5. He's not going to let this just happen. So d4, even offering the e4 pawn. Knight takes e4. And there's a very interesting idea, just knight takes e5 here, very interesting. So immediately threatening things like bishop takes f7 or knight takes f7. Now if this is taken, then bishop takes e5, and it's like scary for black with the king still in the center. So black actually, after this knight takes e5, it's castled here. And we have knight takes f7, rook takes, bishop takes. Now f4, is there an attack here? g4 trying to keep the lines closed. f5, f5, scary. If the bishop is allowed to be kept on the board, bishop h4 would be quite nasty. That's snapped off. H takes. Now queen takes g4 is going to happen, so knight g8 to try and meet the queen with a queen on g5. Queen takes g4, queen g5. And it looks as though, hold on a sec, what's the balance here of material? This is interesting. 2 rooks and a knight versus rook and the 3 pieces here. But white's got 7 pawns, black has 5 pawns. These are doubled. Okay, so knight f6, knight f3, that's protected. g4, hemming in the bishop. Bishop d7. It's going to come out to another diagonal. Rook fe1, rook g8, releasing the knight from duty, so knight f6 becomes possible. Knight f6 hitting g4, the king comes to the rescue of g4 in time. c5, we have rook e2, c takes, bishop b6, preparing maybe to also do things like d8 if needed defensively. b3, bishop c6, threatening well, it does support knight e4 check. That's the principal thing here, because if knight e4 and the king moves, then we've got rook h8 check. The king doesn't want to move to the h file here, so that knight e4 is the principal threat. It stopped with just doubling the rooks, and also it means rook e7 check might be useful. That's not so harmful for black in this position. In fact, it's encouraged. Bishop a5, encouraging rook e7 check. And now this rook moves. Bishop d8, evicting the rook. Goes actually to e6, still entrenched in black's position. So bishop d7. If rook takes d6, I think we just pin the rook. Can't be taken, we just pin that rook. Bang, end of game. So the rook goes back to e3. And at this point, it seems actually this has been fluffed up technically. The engine has it nearly +2 for black, funny enough. I mean, earlier it wasn't so. Sorry, where did it slip up? Earlier around here, right? Around here, this has been evaluated as equal. Sorry, Caruana's playing black, of course. So master of disaster. But here it's around equal. Now, for some reason, yeah, the evaluation has changed dramatically around here. It seems as though this might have been a terrible mistake. Let's play this check. Yeah, apparently here white should just move the rook. And apparently the check is not so lethal here. In this position, it's not so bad. But apparently, yeah, this goes downhill with this check. And this position, it's going downhill. The rook should have moved back immediately, and it didn't. And this makes things even worse, apparently. Now, why? Because after knight d5, if rook d3, we have knight f4 forking the rooks. So rook e4 is played, but then we still get a rook fork with knight c3. Ha ha. Yeah. we're getting one of these rooks, basically. That's a shame, isn't it? Oh well. Yeah, the rooks are being forked. I know, it's sad. Okay, the rooks are being forked. So d5, yeah, black's getting a material advantage. And sadistically, he doesn't even take a rook here. He just waits with bishop f6. The rooks are not going anywhere, apparently. If rook e6, then we can take it with check, you see. So that doesn't really help. Okay, so knight d2. And again, another move saying, you know, funny, isn't it? I'm going to get one of your rooks in my own time. Rook g7. Now finally, yeah, knight takes e4, taking a rook. Rook e7, pinning the knights. King g7. So black is basically a piece up, but seems as though he needs to like get out of this bind. This bishop doesn't seem to be doing much at the moment, but it reroutes to hit d5. This pawn is taken. Bishop f7 hitting d5. It's taken off, leaving black with the extra dark square bishop. Bishop d4 threatens now things like rook e3 check. That's hit. Okay, that moves back for the moment. Rook e4. That's just taken off. Black's bishop is better than the pawns here. Although there's quite a few pawns. I mean, we're talking 6 pawns, 3 extra pawns, but the bishop's still better. King e7, it seems. b4, bishop d8. King comes to blockade. We've got a perfect blockade. Now here it's zugzwang time, because if the king moves away from the pawn, we're just going to take this. So it's zugzwang time. White is being run out of moves. b5 and zugzwang is emerging. Bishop f6. White resigns here. He's just going to lose d5 and all the pawns are going to drop. If he plays on, he resigns here. If he takes, I mean, then he's in zugzwang, right? He's going to run out. We just do this, and then he's going to lose this, and everything else drops. Let's go back here. Alright, so that was a strange one. Just to recap in a nutshell, this game, it's a pretty sharp game. White tried an interesting. So Caruana going for this aggressive plan. White tried to break open the position against the black king while the king was still in the center. In fact, engines suggest, well, Fritz is courageous here and actually thinks taking is the right way to play the position. I briefly showed you this, but actually, you know, the engine will play this with black for the moment, at least. I don't know, maybe it was kind of speculative. I don't know. This sort of position technically is okay for black, but yeah, so castling might have been, it's still okay for black just to ignore it with castling. It's an easier life sometimes to do that. So if this like went back, then this is nice for black. And although the king has weaknesses, it's not entirely clear how they're exploited in this particular position. We can pin here as well and wriggle the bishop around here maybe, or even take here. So okay, this piece sack seems a bit on the wild side with f4. I mean, it's a good. Is it good? It looks kind of scary, doesn't it, for black? Just didn't work out. Would you say this looks scary? Scary, yes or no? Do you want 20 seconds to see? I mean, it's scary. It's a scary position. But yeah, okay. Black just able to somehow like neutralize it. We're taking here and a knight g8. Yeah, black was neutralizing things, it seems. Yeah, black's in the driving seat here anyway. Okay, alright, so those were 4 key Caruana games, and some of them I think were really amazing. So I hope you got something from this week, and remember to like this video, this session, if you've got anything from it or liked it a bit. So likes are really appreciated as usual. So see you next week, yeah? So see you next week. Have a good week. Okay. Okay, thanks for coming. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube?